Wonderful. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. My name is Jessica Lisi, and I am the Partnerships and Events Manager here at DASA. And today, I'm excited to welcome you to the second episode of our Portfolio Management mini-series, Visualizing Success, Transforming Portfolio Management. I'm delighted to introduce you to our speaker for today's episode. I would like to welcome Yoram Meijer, Digital Leadership Lead at Seheka, and a DASA ambassador as our distinguished guest for today. And today's topic is really interesting. We will be diving into how portfolio management and visual management, such as Obeya, go hand in hand to facilitate better decision making. Yoram, we are so glad to have you here today. Can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me, Jess. You said it. My name is Yoram. I work as a digital leadership consultant at Seheka, where we're trying to help our customers be more successful with their technology. And for that, we're really thankful for the great partnership we have with DASA in building a community together with all of the other experts from all over the world in delivering something together that's helping other organizations get further and basically be more successful. And I'm here today because, we're going to talk a little bit about portfolio management and something I really believe in, which is visualizing how to be successful. And then what's important, following some of the DASA principles.
Awesome. So, what is the goal of this session, Yoram? What do you want our audience to walk away with?
The goal of this session to me is sharing a little bit about what do we see as the challenges when we're talking about portfolio management, when we're talking about really delivering something that our customers are asking for. So you could say it's about how do we do this customer-centric action, which is one of our main principles as DASA, and how do we approach portfolio management from that perspective to make sure that we're all making the right decisions. We know that being able to make decisions quickly and efficiently would really help our organizations. That's why we do portfolio management, to do that on our product development, on our product maintenance, and the delivery of it. But there's so many ways and things we could do together to make that even more efficient and better. So that's what I wanted to talk to you all about, how to put the customer first, think from the customer perspective, and then do the right prioritizing, which is quite difficult usually. But there's so much out there that could help us.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, so you emphasize kind of, when we talked, you emphasize an outside-in customer-centric approach. What do you mean by that, and why is it so important?
So when we say a customer-centric approach, it's also when we say we want to think outside in. So we want to do stuff that our customers are looking for. In the end, that's how you keep a business sustainable, I think. And when let's zoom in on portfolio management here, because that's what we're going to be talking about, is that very often we see portfolios out there which are drafted from what are we very good at? Which projects do we think we should do? What should we be doing? Or what do we think our customers need? From the inside out perspective, where we are thinking about, okay, this is for the customer, but we're still thinking about what are we good at. And while I think it's important to do that, if you really want to be customer centric, you should actually put your customer in the center there. So we should be looking at the projects we're doing and the things we're good at, but from the perspective of what kind of value does that add to our customers? And do they really need them now? Do they need them in a year? Do they need them in 3 years? Or is it something we think they should use, but they don't really have the need for? So that we should try to bring that together. And if we do that successfully, we get a few benefits. We will have better aligned investments, because if we are creating products or services that our customers are actually in need of, the return on investment of our that we do on these things should be a lot quicker and a lot easier because we already know they want something. And it will mean that if we're trying to do it together with them, the customer satisfaction for these services will also be better because we've designed them with their needs in mind and their what the, basically we're trying to design what they need
Mhm.
from the perspective of what they need and not what we think. And that's a research thing. So there's a lot of the marketing stuff that's involved there that we need to bring together, and it's a little bit visualized behind me, and more about that later. But I think when we really want to do this customer centric approach on our portfolio, we should be looking at who is the client we're looking for, what kind of industry are we aiming to serve, because in every industry there's a different need, and how does that relate to the services we're offering. And then if we know what kind of industry that our clients are looking for, or that our clients are in, that we're focusing on, that will give us a very strong focus on, okay, what are the challenges there, right? So going for public services will be completely different than going for education or manufacturing, or going for healthcare. The challenges are different. So if we're designing a service for a certain type of client, for an industry, we have a focus. And then within there, we can do all these things that I think are important, like the buyer persona. But we can draft our portfolio of services based on the clients we're doing it for. And that means we can immediately check, are we developing something that they actually need? Because we verify, if we've done it right, we verify that a certain industry has certain needs, and those we are trying to serve. And that's where a little bit of the visualization comes in hand, but also very practical, make it visible what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I think you hit such a great point when you said there's a difference between what your customer needs and what you think the customer needs. And
Yes.
I think that's at the heart of building that impactful portfolio. And I mean, customer centric approach is one of the major pillars of the DASA DevOps principle. So I'm really glad you brought that up. But as you know, this webinar isn't just about portfolio management, but a
No.
crucial element is about how you get to that customer centric approach using visual management. Can you explain for our audience what visual management is?
Yeah. So let's not go in there for hours, because I think we could talk about this just by itself for hours. But let's focus on a key concept, that our minds, the way we process information, our minds are capable of so much, but a large part of that is actual visual information processing. It's I can give you a sheet full of text and have you try to decipher what it says, or I can give you a simple pie graph in it, or a simple chart, and let you see what the data is actually showing. So visualizing that, I mean, I think we all know that an entire Excel sheet full of data is like horrible to get through. And the first thing we do is either ask Copilot to tell us what's in there, or we make a graph out of it so we have a visual cue of what's going on. And the same in traffic. If we're driving a car, there are so many things we have to look at: the stop signs, the traffic around us, the people on the street, what's in our car, navigation, all these things. And we have to be able to process them one by one and keep doing that. And we're capable of that because our minds are capable of processing visual information almost, well, some multiple of 1,000 times quicker than we are when we say or write something down. And when we're going to look at what's our customer, and we want to challenge that constantly towards what do we actually want to do with our portfolio in this matter, it really helps to make it visible. So I'm standing here in this beautiful room, where it's actually visible behind me. If we have a view of what we're doing in an industry with a customer profile, with their pains and their gains, and we can constantly check based on our product portfolio, what are they actually looking for? What are we offering them? And if those things are matching the pains and the gains, and well, I didn't fill them in here. Sorry, everyone. I did not share all my ideal customer profiles and buyer personas with you because that's, well, my boss would not be very happy if I would be sharing that, because it's really, really worth creating the information and putting it out there, doing the research of actually knowing who you want to serve and what their needs are and what you are offering that's actually solving it for them. But if you have that visible and you can constantly check based on your portfolio, okay, I have a new idea, and the information is already here because that's what it's about, and I can quickly see, is this something my customer needs, or is it something I think they need? Making that visible and making it explicitly out there, which you can always challenge, because let's not forget continuous improvement somewhere at the end, also a very important principle. It's not that you do it once and then stop, but you can keep doing that and keep challenging it by having the information there, which is easily processable and available to everyone who wants to do and who needs to do the work. It makes it a lot easier. Not to mention that once you get into that and once you have that profile all over here, and you're then starting to look at the frameworks, how are we actually going to create more products or improve the products or do the other things, we can get in OKRs, OGSM, which is all part of how we're going to deliver the ideas or find out or improve them. We can do that still based on the customer that we're working for, on the needs and the stuff that we already pulled up, the information that's readily available. And that sounds super simple, and that's basically the strength of it, because it's not. it's super hard to do right, and it takes a lot of effort, not just once, but it takes constant effort to keep that up to date. But what it's going to bring you is, once you've asked the question and you put it on there, what your customer needs, and once you know that's relevant, everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. So you can share it with everyone involved in serving or creating something for that customer. And that customer can also be an internal project, right? So there's industries here, but that can also be your own employees for which you are doing stuff and projects from your portfolio. But we can all see, who are we doing it for? What are we trying to solve? And that's the customer-centric approach which we need to build on. We need to keep building on something we see and writing it down and having endless documents with all the text. It's hard. If you have it here, you make it simple. Don't put endless text, just put the keywords, the key concepts out there, make it visible. And this is a view. You can do it however you want, as long as you make it sure that everyone can easily process what's out there. So the direction you take and the choices you make are very clear constantly. Are they aligned to what the customer wants? That's the visual management here. I think it's make it simple, make it digestible, and make it processable so everyone has the information that they need to do the job.
I think that's fascinating. I think you went into a lot of really great. The customer personas, I think, is such an essential part of doing this, and to identify, again, break down that barrier between what is it the customer needs and what we think it needs. So you've gone into what visual management is, but can you go into a bit more detail on how it helps with developing this customer-centric approach, like what the benefits are, or do you even have any practical examples?
Yes, of course I can go into this. So I think when we are looking at a certain product or a project we're doing, and we can take one, for example, where as DASA we're trying to make a new product for our clients. The first thing we need is to know, who are we actually building it for? So we might be, you and I, or with the other people at DASA, might be super sure that we're trying to create something that everybody needs, right? Step one is, who is this everybody? Because everybody is nobody. So let's figure out, who do we actually want to do it for? Do we want to do it for the IT directors, the IT managers? Do we want to do it for the business managers? Do we want to do it for the visual artists who have to create the PowerPoint slides that you and I might use in presentations? It's all different questions which we need to answer first. So when we take a pick, we decide and we define who we take, and that's really in the customer profile. It's making sure that you fill in, what are they acting, what is their business, what are their goals, on general. And if you can do it for one customer, if you're a smaller company, or if you have a really big one, if one of your customers is Microsoft, then you can imagine that you can make it big enough for that. But usually we have multiple customers in different industries, segments of the market, and so that's what you focus on. Not one, but you verify it, and you actually verify it with your customers. It's the most fun exercise you can do, asking your customers, is this actually something you would need? It's if you want to talk about building relationships and building trust, which is the free advice here. I mean, go do that and go ask them, are we actually delivering you something you need, or is it just something we think is really cool and you also think it's helpful, and are you then using all of it, or just, so that's one. You verify what do they need, and if you also know what their pains are and what they are missing, then I mean, it's a little bit of a gold mine. That's where you need to build and develop stuff if you're capable of that. And then next is the buyer persona. So if you have a product and you want to sell it to someone, you still need to be aware of who am I selling it to, and what are their problems, and what am I solving, and how do they need the information, and how would they use my product. So we connect that one too. And then from there you go to in what is the product you need. And then you get to, that's all the way on the other side, of course, it's the different types of how do I actually do the work. So whether you are using OKRs with the objective and the key results, or whether you are using an OGSM or any other tool, because you could use a simple Kanban or a complicated Scrum or whichever to actually deliver and maintain the product. That's a free choice. I just put 2 here on the wall to have a little demonstration of it. But by doing it that way, you can make sure that every step of the way, you're constantly looking back at, am I actually building something that my customer needs? So when we're going into the actual development, right, we have all these questions of user stories, and we have hypothesis of, we have this idea for a feature or a function, which is really cool. Yes, great. Does your customer need and want it? Every time we should ask our question, do they need and want it? Yes, they need it. Okay, where can I see that they need it? Did we verify the research and the work that actually says that? Or is it, again, an assumption? Because we want to make quick decisions, right? We want to do sprints, and every 2 weeks we want to deliver something. And if every 2 weeks we have to go back to make an appointment with our customers, preferably more than one, ask them if they need it, that's going to take a long time. So the cycle is very long. So if we can get all that information here while we're working and improve on that, we can get the people doing the work here on this side and making our projects, our services. We can get them aligned on the same information that we're getting from our customers, which makes the feedback loop super quick, and it gets us real time, basically, the information that we need to make decisions to keep working.
Oh my God. Amazing. This sounds like I think a lot of these principles, span beyond just looking at your digital transformation. This is really good advice, I think, for anyone in any point of your organization. So that being said, if I wanted to apply visual management within my portfolio management, where do I start?
By simply doing it. So, let's face it, it's not easy. And you're going to run into a lot of bumps on the road of, okay, what do I want to start first and where do I go? I think it's very important that if you really want to go into this, that you should write down, why am I doing this? So what's my vision? What do I want to achieve? And that's before you even go into who's my customer or what industries am I going to focus on. It's what do we as a company, as an organization want to, how do we see the world? How do we see who we are and what our goal is? Because writing that down in a simple version is already going to give you some direction of what kind of strategies do we want to apply. And okay, if this is who we want to be and this is our goal, what kind of industries, what kind of markets would be interesting for us? because you need to make choices there. If you start building something for every industry and market out there, yes, it's possible, but it's super complicated. So I would say start with one or two. If you're a little bit bigger, take a third or take a fourth. And that doesn't also mean that you stop with everything else you're doing, right? So you don't stop with the other, you just make choices. Where do I focus on getting this information on a board, visual out there so people can learn and we can improve from it? And then define, okay, who are my buyer persona? So who in this industry is involved in buying and using my product? And once you've done that, I would advise map out what you've got right now. So you have your portfolio, you know what kind of services do you have and how you put it out there. And once you have these first inklings and these first few ideas on board, put them on the wall, put them visible, and then look at them together and verify, okay, this is what we have now. And don't do that with 3 people. Use as many of the people involved in your organization, people doing sales, people doing marketing, people who control the products to check together, is this what we've got and what we want to work with from here? It's a step by step. And from there decide, okay, how do we want to do this work visually? There's a lot of great ideas out there. You can simply make a Kanban where you put all the work in there. You can build a complete Obeya room with everything in there. Start small, start with the beginning, but start by doing it. And next, and that's an often forgotten step, I think, but super important, involve your stakeholders, both in your organization, people involved in everything you're doing here. Are you actually okay with us making these choices and these focuses? But also your clients. Ask them, okay, this is how we want to improve the services and the products we're delivering to you. Would this work for you? It's the feedback loop there. And you should get that as inclusive and as surrounding as possible. Don't go to 200 customers, but having 3 or 4 verify it, your most important ones or strategic choices, it matters. And you need it because you need your customer in there and you need to have it verified and checked out. And then from there, basically, it's continuously building it. So you have a scratch, you have a beginning, and then you start building it. Because, I showed a example of how you could do it behind me on the wall. There are so many out there, and you need to find out what fits for you. So it's a little bit like really doing the DevOps or doing Agile. It's you build something, you test it, you improve it, and every time you keep asking feedback. And the best question there is this information working for us? So a little while ago, I heard a client ask the literal question, okay, so we have this stuff on the wall. If I wanted to know if I wanted to know if my current products are useful, how do I find it out? I said, if you would add that to your wall and your portfolio and you can't get the answer, I would work on making sure that the answer is there. If you have a full set of all your services and you've made them visual, and your question is then, does my customer actually want this? I would start working on information out there, what my customer wants, and if I can hopefully full-heartedly say, yes, this is what my customer wants, because then I'm on the right track. And then I have to keep on that track, so I have to keep checking and checking and checking. But that's, it's what you ask is how do I start with a good idea in mind, with some choices, and go from there and keep learning.
Amazing. Honestly, round of applause for that one. Thank you so much, Yoram. Before we get into kind of the key takeaways and summary, we have some questions from the audience.
Cool.
And of course, I'm going to have to call him out because I already said Marion was going to ask a question. So Marion asks, how do you validate from scratch a brand new idea? You mentioned quite a lot of customer centricity, such as demands and needs. So can you give us your secret sauce to that?
It's a super difficult one if you really start thinking into how could I theorize this and that and do all these things. I think here my secret sauce is not even mine. It's from my manager, my director, who simply says, who knows? Your customer. So go to them and ask them. and start with the first one. So start with the one. I mean, you need a little bit of a relationship and trust with this, right? If you really want to go there and be open and ask. But in the end, they're also human beings, and they're also they will be helped if we help them better. This is just translating words, and sorry for that. But we can service them better if we know better. It's a relationship that goes both ways. So asking the first one, just literally, okay, I have this idea. What do you think about it? And would you be willing to give me a little bit of insight in what you really need? Starting that question from scratch is yeah, that's where you take it from. I'm using a model or a framework or whichever one you use to actually putting it in practice. Just ask your customers, because in the end they need to answer it. If you're going to do industry research and buyer personas, you're going to interview your customers and ask them, and then you're going to do it with more than one and get it in information, and from that you're going to create a virtual profile of who your ideal customer and buyer persona, what they would look like and what they need. And do you start with asking 20 of them? Yes, you would ideally, but you start with the first one. And if you pick the right one, which I think everyone here is quite capable, because we all know who our valuable customers are, who would give us the critical notes, but also the positive ones, that's where we start asking. And that's where you start from scratch. So I hope Marion has helped with this one, and everyone else too.
Excellent. I actually have another question. How do you measure whether a portfolio is truly aligned with customer needs, and what indicators suggest adjustments might be needed?
Good question. So there, I think you should go into really into the metrics on the customer side. So you can look at the basic customer satisfaction. How happy is my customer with my profile? But you should also start looking at the experience management levels and indicators, mostly about, is my product actually used? So I have these features, and are they being used? And which one are being used? And then if that's so, now it becomes interesting. If you have the needs of your customer here visibly, and you are measuring if your customer is actually using the functions you are delivering, you can check how. Not sure, so I have to go on the fly here because, but it's on a. We do that. Are they actually asking for the stuff we are offering right now, and is there a match? And that's the simplest one, because you don't need huge data models or whatever. You just need to see, I have this function, how many of our customers are paying for this and how many actually use it, and is it matching the need that I pulled up from the customer?
Awesome.
And then it's a simple yes and no.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually really glad you brought up experience management when you said that, because we talk about how we need to understand our customers better, and all of these are really great tools to derive that information from them and begin to create that truly customer-centric portfolio. But
Yeah.
it makes me think about how intrinsically linked then portfolio management and experience management are, and how portfolio management helps you to develop that roadmap and align your organization around that roadmap. But you need that feedback loop to keep your customers at the center of that portfolio, and that's experience management. That's good portfolio management. And I think a lot of these visual tools you're giving help to see that, help to really bring organizations closer to that understanding. So
Yeah,
um
it's next step. It's not just you measure the things, you research the things, you do the things, but that's so much information which you have to process. And then we go to the beginning. If you put that all in one view, and you can look at that experience data, and you can look at the operational data, and you can look at what kind of services am I offering based on how do I describe my customer. And if you put that together, then you really have this this cycle, this feedback loop on who your customer is and whether they're happy and whether you're doing the right things for them. And that also includes having people do the right things because they're involved in doing stuff that the customer needs, which I really believe in, but it's a little bit harder scientifically to prove. That also makes people happier, right? So they're doing stuff that customers want, which hopefully gets happier customers, which should be reflected by happier employees.
Yeah, it's all in that ecosystem, and
Yeah,
you really need all of it to create a successful portfolio, a successful product, some more
a
dropping
successful
into
organization.
just
It's
yeah, successful
yeah,
organization.
it's a
Exactly.
part. It's you don't only do portfolio management. You want to create the high performing digital organization we say at DASA, and this is one part of them where a lot of that comes together.
Exactly, exactly. So it's
Yeah.
good to build on all of them because you need it all. So, well, that being said, um I believe we're running out of time, so I want to thank you, Yoram, for your incredible insights on how to bridge that gap between our portfolio and our customers using these visual management tools. I'm going to throw up on the board here some key takeaways from this session. So I want to highlight some of those, such as, I mean, we've said it a million times, folks, but focus on a customer-centric portfolio management approach and utilize these visual management strategies in that portfolio decision making. These simple visualizations highlight trends and key insights instantly. And you have a plethora of tools such as Obeya, Kanban, customer personas, for example. And these help you identify the relevant industries and customers to map out and assess the gaps and opportunities in your portfolio. So, if you were inspired by today's topic and want to learn more about portfolio management, we encourage you to check out the DASA Portfolio Management Certification Program and Product Suite. You can find more information on our website at dasa.org or access the direct link that I've posted in the comments. And we did talk about, building a great organization rather than just one part of it. So we do have programs, product suites also on experience management and product management. So look at that. Um, we hope you join us for the next episode. We're actually launching some more mini series. So we have some more episodes in the portfolio management series as well. Stay tuned for those dates. They will be announced soon. But we also are launching mini series on SRE and our intelligent continuous security. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Yoram, for this great presentation.
You're
Um,
welcome. Thank you for having me.
and for practicing what you preach with some really cool visualizations right behind you. So, all right. Well, thank you all and have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.